Okay, we are recording. Frazey, how are you today?
I'm good. Yeah.
Wonderful. I
How,
mean, that,
how are
that was the
you?
consummate professional there. We've just had a conversation that you're still half asleep and you're just necking coffee to try and wake up. Oh, I appreciate your time today. I really, really do. And whereabouts are you at the moment?
I'm on a Gulf island that is just off of Vancouver. So
Wonderful.
there's Vancouver and then there's a bunch of little islands off of Vancouver and I spend my time between Vancouver and a little island off of Vancouver. Yeah.
Oh, lovely, lovely. Well, look, Frazey, I'm going to kick off your playlist, and I always do this the same way by asking guests to tell me the song that they regard as having the greatest ever intro, please.
Yeah, I just love the intro of Aretha Franklin's live version of Bridge Over Troubled Water. I just love how it kind of creeps in and yeah,
Yeah.
the choir and everything. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about your approach in 2025 to songwriting and essentially framing it around the intro as well, because we live in a world now where it definitely strikes me that generations coming through, the attention spans seem to be getting shorter and the thumbs seem to be moving a lot quicker. And I'm loading this question a little bit, Frazey, but do you think that that adds pressure to artists to to kind of hook them quickly and hold them there? And does if so, does any of that filter through into your creative process?
I mean, I've always just been of the school that like you're making music to deeply please your own soul. And if you're out there trying to chase what you think other people are going to like, you're already sort of, I mean, you're moving away from like a deep communication that you're having with your art. And I've always felt like the clearer your communication is with your own intuition, the more people respond to that from that place in themselves. And that's what I've always felt. So I'm always just more like, I'm less interested in the slow attention span kind of thing because that's not what I'm looking for in art. And I would say, yeah, in the younger, my son is 22 and he's at music school and he's in a music scene. And as much as we see this kind of distracted digital experience, they're also seeking out the same things that we all sought out, and they're still human beings, and they still want things to resonate with them. So I find there's always these, young people that are digging back in through what happened before, and they're particularly obsessed with the 90s, I think, because it's the pre-digital experience. So I think yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's all kinds of music that's going to chase that quick attention span, but there's always going to be the music and the art that's not chasing that quick attention span that people are going to dig into that moves them. I just think that's always going to be a part of what people are seeking out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to ask you now, please, to tell me the first song that you remember hearing that had an emotional impact on you, please.
It's funny because I listened to it yesterday again. I have the record here. What song was it? It's a Linda Ronstadt song. Um, Long, long time by Linda Ronstadt. I had to go look at the record and be like, which song was it that I used to cry to when I was 7 years old? Sorry, my dog is wanting to be a part of this. Sorry.
Fantastic. So tell me a little bit about I mean, could you pinpoint what the actual emotion would have been then?
Yeah, I think and I was talking, my cousin was here and we were just talking about music that we cried to as yet very young 5, 6 year old kids. And yeah, this music really moved me and made me sad. And I think it was interesting to think about being so young and really feeling so heavily into music. Sorry, my dog is trying to get in on this. Um, Yeah, and I think, we don't think of kids as having these really complex emotional lives, but they do. They're picking up on everything. And I think very early on, it spoke to me from a deep place and, from probably a lot of like the grief and sadness that was around me. So I was connecting to the the vocal expression of it. Also, my mom sang all the time, and she taught me how to sing as a young person. And she always sang these really sad songs. Like there was a lot of, I think, almost generational drama and sadness, and in the kind of family musical tradition, basically.
And so was there like I mean from saying that home sounds like a pretty musical environment was I mean a few things around that where was home and was there sort of instruments around the house was you encouraged to sort of be creative with music?
Yeah, so yeah, we lived in we lived in Canada, and my parents left the States in the late 60s for political reasons. And my mom is sort of from this Irish, French, Canadian, but American Cajun tradition, which I sort of understood later. Yeah, we lived all over. We ended up in British Columbia, sometimes rural, and then in Vancouver. But yeah, there was always a piano, or my mom played the accordion, and there was always records on. And I took a few lessons as a kid, piano, but basically there was just music on all the time. There was always some music playing, and my mom just sang all the time. Not, and it wasn't, it's interesting because it wasn't a big deal. Like there wasn't this like idea that she was this great singer or anything. It was kind of like furniture in the house. I was so used to hearing her sing. And then because she had grown up with this big musical tradition in her family, her dad played the accordion, fiddle, and all of her relatives. She said she used to go to these big parties and everybody would play and sing all night, all these instruments. But she loved to sing harmony, so she taught me how to sing lead melody when I was like 3 years old. But it was just very normalized part of life. So we didn't have this idea of, I just figured everybody was like that.
Yeah.
So that everybody played and sang music all the time. My brothers sang all the time. My brothers were in punk rock bands. So it was just like music everywhere all the time, but it wasn't considered special, you know? And then I remember later as a teenager, somebody saying like, "Oh, your mom has this really beautiful voice," and I was like, "Oh yeah, I never really thought about it, like I never really thought about it being beautiful or not. It was just around all the time." So my style is the way I sing is very heavily influenced by growing up singing with her.
So let's stay in the formative years and I'm going to ask you to tell me about the song that reminds you of your time at school, please.
Yeah, I had to think about this because there's so many, but I think like as I hit kind of early high school, I became really obsessed with Bessie Smith and old blues music, and so I was really in love with the song "After You've Gone" by Bessie Smith, and anything that she did, I just became really deeply interested in her style.
How was that at school? Because like was that what everybody else at school was listening to? Because that's quite a unique artist to get into.
Yeah, no, I think like yeah, at a certain point, I had discovered like Otis Redding, or like via more mainstream soul artists like Whitney Houston. I just became more and more interested in soul. And then I started playing guitar and singing when I was like 15. And then I happened upon this record that in a record store, it just had a really cool painting on it. And it was a strange album because talk about like, it took it took me a while to get into it. It just all sounded old, And then by like listening, and suddenly I was like, oh, there's something so amazing here. So yeah, not a lot of people were into it, but then I got my friends into it, and suddenly like, all my girlfriends were listening to like really old women blues. But I mean, this is the thing. Like, I think like we really underestimate teenagers and what they can explore because they're just like, these miniature adults, and they're pretty curious beings. And I come across these teenagers all the time that are into this really niche, interesting stuff. And I think as like, Gen Xers, we're all like, we just see them on their phones or whatever, but they're all kind of doing what we did. They're exploring these like pathways because they're looking for something different than the mainstream a lot of the time.
Absolutely. And I think like they're trying to work out who they are. And
Exactly.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, in regards to school, was it something you enjoyed?
I really liked school in a certain way. I went to an amazing sort of small high school. Oh, this guy. Oh my God. Sorry. I went to a small high school, and it was a really interesting school. Um, a lot of interesting teachers. So I got this quite cool, it was like a satellite school of a bigger school. And my childhood upbringing was so chaotic. My parents were kind of these wild characters. Everyone in my family, it was pretty troubled childhood in a lot of ways. And my siblings were like in and out of jail. Like it was kind of very intense. So school provided this structure that I didn't necessarily have. And I loved it for that. But yeah, and I thought I was on this track. I was kind of the rebelling against my family, and I was much more conservative than them, and I wanted to like have this normal life. I was on this track. I wanted to be like a doctor, and my close friend, she always jokes about my alter ego, the anorexic doctor. But then I kind of took a turn in like late in high school and sort of realized that like I wasn't gonna do that. Got into folk music, so I took a turn. But I did like school, yeah.
Discovering folk and and that style of music, in your formative years and realizing that, that could have, that's going to be a career path. Did it seem like something that was possible to you? Were there people that were role models, coming from where you'd come from that were doing that you could aspire to sort of follow?
I mean, I didn't know that I could make a living as a singer. My mom had sang and she'd sang in bars sometimes, but she had a lot of kids and she had to support all of us and kind of pull us out of poverty. Um, so I didn't set out thinking that I could make a living as a musician. And I moved away from the city. I was living in a small town for a couple of years where there was a lot of musicians and there was a lot of music. And I knew that I needed to do music for my own kind of well-being and sanity. So I really committed to the path of creativity and without any kind of concept that it was going to be how I made my living.
Yeah.
And so I was sort of designing a life. I was inspired by the movie Flashdance, like she was like a welder by day, and then she had that cool place, and then she did her thing on the side. And I was fairly content to kind of choose that as an option. And I was like always kind of going back and forth between doing music and then trying to figure out because I didn't come from any like privilege, so I had a really practical nature and I didn't know it was an option. I didn't see it as an option. And I think in a lot of ways that freed me to just do my art for art's sake and to not be attached to the idea of any kind of fame and success, which I think really served me throughout my career because it wasn't coming from that place. I wasn't attached to having that kind of attention or that kind of financial thing. And actually, I advise young people on that now because it's so hard to make a living at it. And because of the internet, people are comparing themselves to, they can see everywhere that someone's more successful than them. And in some ways, I was telling a young woman about this. I was like, I was living this life in this small town with a band, playing at open mics, having a job, living my best life. And I was like, if you're making your art, sharing your art, you're already successful. And you need to understand that you're like fulfilling your passion and if you start making money at it, that's a whole nother set of problems. So just like, yeah, so that was kind of, I feel lucky that I didn't know it was an option. Because later, when I had to make, suddenly we were, Be Good Tanyas was, the fame happened really quickly and it was really stressful. And I was able to kind of make choices for my own well-being that I might not have been able to make was I really like attached to like fame and attention. So I think it's kind of like, it's really overrated a lot of that kind of, I don't know, like doing what you love is awesome, but like there's a point where you can really compromise too much about your what you actually want to be doing, with your time. So,
I'd like you to tell me the first record you remember buying from a record store, please.
um, I went, I had an allowance and I had $5. I went down to the record store and I bought the Prince Purple Rain album and just was so obsessed. Still.
See, this is the question where you're meant to have like a really embarrassing first purchase. I mean, you've started cool there. I'm of an age where I was in my formative years when Purple Rain come out, and in the UK, it was incredible the impact that Prince was having, and the point that that film come out, when Doves Cry come out as a single, and then the album come out, it was the most exciting thing. Like, because yes, we had Michael Jackson, and I guess we had the very early Madonna, but Prince was just otherworldly and
I
continued
mean,
to be.
he held it down in the 80s. Like, there was a lot of schlock. He just, like, was a genre unto himself, like, keeping things going in a cool way when so many things fell off. Like, Stevie Wonder fell off. Like, everyone fell off. And he held it down.
That's such a good point. You look at all of those, those artists that were, trailblazers in the sort of, I suppose with Stevie Wonder, the 60s and the 70s, and there was some very sort of suspect production on some of these artists' work in the
They all
80s.
trying to
Whereas,
keep up, and,
yeah,
like, it's really like, what happened?
but
Aretha, all the people, and then, like, oh God. And then they got it back, but like Prince held it down for
yeah,
a good bunch of years
I
in the
think Prince just
soul.
found his own path somewhere and just went, I'm just gonna have a little look down here.
He's another it's from another dimension. Someone at Questlove said this thing, and he was like he took James Brown's rhythm pattern and just flipped it. And I was like, oh yeah, he did do that. Like, and then of course I mean, absolute genius on every level.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah. And it's so strange. I mean, I know when you're an artist and you're putting out music as prolific as Prince, the fact that you can write Manic Monday or you can write Nothing
You
Compares to
read
You.
Manic Monday.
Yeah. Uh, and he wrote Nothing Compares to You for Sinead. And just you can just give them songs away because you must be so confident that there's another 10 just coming anytime soon. Like to give them songs away. Most artists would give their right arm to write one of them and he's just giving them away.
It's true. No, it's crazy. And then all his kind of puppet projects like Time and all his other bands that he puppeteered. I was just like, how much energy he had. It was
Yeah,
just insane. Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, I'm going to ask you to tell me the song that soundtracked your years going to clubs.
Yeah, I didn't have very many years going to clubs. I mean, I probably did, but I can't, nothing stood out. And I think, at this time when everyone was discovering like Nirvana and all this stuff, I I had gone traveling to Central America out of high school and missed, and then I was in Spain, and I was having this really intense, like nervous breakdown experience, and I ended up going to live in the woods in a small cabin and just removing myself from mainstream culture entirely. And I, I came out of this deep depression, and was just in deep in kind of folk in this kind of small town. So I missed a lot of the mainstream club. There was no real club there. So it was just me playing, folk music. And the one song I remember from that era really strongly as I was kind of going into this, like I was going crazy actually. And I was in Spain, and I think Joni Mitchell's Carrie was sort of the soundtrack to this time. I think I tried to go out to a club. It was just a whole thing, but I was learning all of the album Blue on the rooftop in Spain as I was like going through this nervous breakdown. And that sort of would be my clubbing time.
It's
A
such a
glamorous breakdown.
that's such a juxtaposition, isn't it? Like all of your friends are literally crowd surfing to Nirvana and Pearl Jam and Jane's Addiction and Faith No More, and
Yes,
you're in a little cabin with your acoustic, play Joni Mitchell tunes. I love it.
it was the whole thing. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, look, I'm going to take you home for the next track, and for track six, I'm going to ask you to tell me, please, Frazey, a favourite song from an artist from your home county, please.
Yeah. There's this Canadian artist named Farron who was quite popular in the 80s in Vancouver. And I remember like my parents going out to see her at a coffee shop. And I am recently just re-obsessed with her writing. I played a festival with her recently. I think she's so brilliant and kind of so underrated. And one of my favorite songs of her is it's called Ain't Life a Brook, and it's this beautiful tale of this breakup and all. It's so honest and just like perfect folk storytelling that's so beautiful.
Wonderful. Well, we're going to give you an opportunity now to turn the listeners onto something new, as well as I mean, I'd not heard of. Is it pronounced Ferron?
Farron, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I've not heard. So I'll be introducing that to the listeners. But for track seven, it's another opportunity, and this is where I'm going to ask you to tell me a song that you think the listeners may not know that you would like them to hear.
Yeah, I think this is one of like the most underrated, talented people I've seen recently. Her name's Jennifer Castle, and I actually saw her play at a cafe near this island. She has a song in The Bear, that show The Bear. She's so good. And one of her beautiful songs is called Blowing Kisses. She's just like this almost like ethereal storytelling, beautiful, very unique voiced, very soulful, very timely artist. And I really just hope more people get to see her because her live show is just phenomenally beautiful, and she's a very special like gem of a artist, I think.
And so, did you discover her from that live show?
I someone posted something of hers a couple years ago, so I've been following her for a while. And then she has a new album out, and then I finally got to see her live. And then I met her, and she's like, "Oh, I lived in your neighborhood 20 years ago." She lives in a different province. She's like, "I used to see you at the bakery. I used to see you at the pool with your baby and stuff." And I'm like, "Wow, this is like deep." But yeah, but I finally got to see her live at this show, and I just had chills like the whole time. And I just love seeing an artist that is so true to their calling and so authentic and not. And we had a conversation because it's just so hard for people now to make a at certain levels to like to make any kind of profit because of the whole streaming scam. And she was like, "Does it affect your music?" And I was like, "No." And she's like, "Me neither. Music is always just free. Like we do this we're not doing this for the money. We're doing it for our souls." And yeah, she was like a magical little being anyway. So I hope more people listen to her. She's fantastic.
Well, we'll make it easier for people to do that because we put together a playlist of all
Oh,
the songs
cool.
that we've spoken about today. So the link will be in the show notes so people can go and listen to that and all the other tracks that we've spoken about. Um, Of all the artists that we've spoken about and we've discussed so much great music, we haven't discussed yours yet. So so what's happening, Frazey? Bring us all up to speed.
Uh, yeah, I'm recording a lot. I'm working on a new album. There'll be some singles starting to roll out. I also am just releasing a couple of unreleased tracks from the album Indian Ocean that we never put out, and that's been really fun to kind of dig back through the archives on the project I did with the Al Green's band. So yeah, and I'm here in my little space out here, just tinkering away and finishing. I've been in and out of the studio all summer and recording some new stuff, and so I'm excited. I can't say exactly when this album's coming out, but yeah, definitely ready to put out some new material. And I'm coming on tour, so I'll be playing new stuff on the tour. So.
When's the tour start?
The show in London is October 25th. That's when it starts. Yeah, that's when it starts.
And where's that? Do you know?
It's in London at the Black Deer Festival. Um, I forget where in London, but it's part of a festival, basically.
And
Yeah.
if people want to go and watch you with that and find out more about live shows, releases, and such, where's the best place to keep up to speed with all things
Yeah,
Frazey
like
Ford?
Instagram or Facebook or frazeyford.com is my website. Yeah. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, when we put this episode out, if it's all right with you, we'll tag you in on Instagram. So if people aren't following you already, we'll make it nice and easier for them to go and do so.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy. I appreciate you getting up early today to come and talk to me, and it's been delightful talking records with you. Thank you so much.
Totally. Yeah. Thank you so much. That was really fun.
Oh,
Yeah.
no problem at all. I'm going to press
Yeah.
stop, but don't go anywhere.
Okay.